Hey everyone, so this is my top 10 favorite books of 2020 video. I feel like this is like one of my favorite videos to watch. I wanted to make one myself. Again, sorry about the light, there's no natural light. You can see it is sunny, but the light isn't like, the sun isn't high enough to reach me as well. But yeah, so I want to talk about my 10 favorite books of 2020. They're not all books published in 2020, actually quite a few, most of them are not. But yeah, I want to make this quite like quick and sweet because I know time is precious. So yeah, I have had like an amazing reading year. Like this year has been slightly horrible in every other way, but I have read a lot of like really amazing books. So I'm just gonna jump right into it. The first book I actually only gave 4 stars, but I do have a lot of 5 stars books I haven't like included on this list, but it's just really like stuck with me and like been on my mind, so I wanted to include it, and that is Swordfish Girl by larissa. And this is just like an incredibly gross the cat's hair gross, strange, dykey, weird book, which is like everything that I love. It's set in this like alternate like 19th century China, futuristic Canada, and it's just about like shape-shifting and dykiness and grossness and capital and labor, and it is amazing. I also read The Tiger Flew by Larissa, which is like a great book, but I wouldn't recommend reading it if you don't want to read about like a pandemic. But if you like weird gay things, you should definitely give these two a go. And then my next favorite book, these aren't like ranked by the way, apart from like the final 4, which is like my absolute favorite, like the best of the best, like the cherry on the top of the something. But yeah, my other favorite book of 2020 is Freshwater by akwaeke emezi. I actually read all of akwaeke emezi's books this year, so I read Freshwater, I read Pet, and I read Death of Vivi OG, and I did like Pet and Death of Vivi OG, but this is like definitely my favorite one. Like this made me like so emotional, and it's great, and you should all read it. It follows Ada, who has all these like spirits residing like within her, because she was like born on the other side. I suppose like her like childhood in Nigeria, and then her time like a university in the US. She's like an amazing exploration of like spirituality and gender and mental health, and it's just like amazing. I loved it so much, and I loved the way it depicted like getting top surgery. So if you like beautiful writing, like intense like emotional distress and joy, you would really enjoy this. And then the next book I want to mention is a quite short one. It's like a fantasy, and that is The Four Profound Weaves by R.B. Lemberg. And I don't want to talk too much of the plot of this, but I want to say that it does follow like older trans characters, and like older characters in fantasy and trans characters in fantasy are like 2 of my like favorite things. And then it also has like really great world building, like a really cool magic system. Like it isn't perfect, so it was a bit like fast paced, but I just like love this like so much. So if you're like fantasy with like cool world building, magic, and trans characters, and all the protagonists, which again is like one of the best things, you would really enjoy this. I would definitely recommend giving it a go. And then the next book I want to talk about is a non-fiction book, and that is Entangled Life by Merlin Sheldrake. And this is a book, it's about like mycology and mushrooms, and like the importance of like mycological networks for like all life and just like the earth. And it's just like this like moved me so much. It just takes you through the world of like mycology, and I don't know, like the way it just like depicted like intimacy and nature and interconnectedness and like community in the form of like mycology it's just like amazing. Like this is one of the best like non-fiction books I have read, and like I love mushrooms and I love mycology, but like I learned so much from this, and it like, I don't know, it makes you just like see the ground you tread on differently, and just like makes you like alter like the way you experience the world a little bit. At least it did that for me. It's like if you're interested in like nature, like mycology, I would definitely give this a go. Sorry about the light. And then my next favorite book is also a fantasy, and that is The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin, which is the second book in the Broken Earth trilogy. And I read all of these this year in this all 3 books in the span of like 48 hours. I loved all of them, and it's very like intense experience. But this one was my favorite one. They're all great. Like the Broken Earth trilogy is on this list, but I wanted to like highlight that this was my favorite one. I don't really want to talk too much about what it's about because it's the second book, and also I think like reading these books is very beneficial to just like not know what you're going to, because like witnessing it unraveling is part of the fun. But I will say that it follows again like all the protagonists, or like there's like protagonists like at all walks of life, but one of the main protagonists is like a middle-aged woman that's very old, but like I love that it has like polyamory. It has a like sense of like mix of high fantasy magic world building and like magic sci-fi. I'm sure that that has like a proper descriptor, but like I love the world in this, love the writing. Yeah, it's just like amazing. Like love relationships, like it's so readable. Sorry, my camera froze. This is what I get for having a billion tabs and programs open. But yeah, this is amazing. I have read some other N.K. Jemisin's books this year as well and enjoyed them not as much as this, but I think this is because like this has nothing to do with like politics, or like it's like during an apocalypse, so it's all like kind of like power structures and like struggles are kind of like irrelevant, and it's just about like people and survival, and it's amazing. So yeah, you should read the Broken Earth trilogy. And then the second one is my favorite. I was saying to think that I like the second book often in a lot of like series, because a lot of stuff has been set up, so you're like immersed in the world and you can kind of like focus on more slowly kind of building the world, and then it's usually not as fast paced as like a first and a third book would be, and you get more time with the actual characters and the people, and I feel like it's kind of like a break or a setup in the story, and that's something that I really enjoy, which I know isn't the case for everyone, but it definitely is the case for me. And then my next favorite book is also a fantasy, and that is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samatha, Shannon. And this follows like an array of characters, most of them queer, which is great, and like the main relationship in this book is between 2 women. And this book, like I can tell that it isn't like a perfect book. Like the pacing is kind of weird, the pacing is like very strange towards the end. I find the way that the character perspectives, like the way that the character perspectives are done could have gone like a lot more smoothly, but I just like love this. Like I love reading this. I had a great time. Like I really enjoyed the characters. Like I love the world. Like it was just so much fun. And like if you like epic fantasy, and like if you want like a homonormative world, like not homonormative, but like a world where like hiding your relationship, like, or like being queer is like horrible, like it's nothing, like there are issues with relationships here, but they're due to like class and not due to like gender, which I really enjoyed. So I know like some people love this and some people hate this, and like I understand, like I love it, and therefore I'm not like annoyed by the pacing, but like if I didn't love it I would find the pacing quite like frustrating, I think. So I do understand why people would enjoy it, but I just like loved reading this so much that it didn't bother me all that much. It's the cat's under the table. I'll see if I can make her come. Lula. No. Rejected. And So like yeah, I love all these books, but now I want to talk about like my four like absolute standout, absolute favorite books. And the first one is it's a non-fiction. It's just wild. You know when cats like pupils go really big and they like just become fucking like crazy. That's what she's doing right now. But yeah, the next book is We Both Laughed in Pleasure, the collected diaries of Sullivan, collected by or edited by Ellis like Ozma. And I talk about this like on this channel like quite a lot already, but it's like excerpts from the diary of Lou Sullivan, who is like a trans man and is one of the first people to be like publicly known as a gay trans man. And it's just like such like an amazing look of like gender and like realizing like the possibilities like of gender and realizing like the possibilities of like yourself and like I don't know that like you can just do whatever the fuck you want, you know? And it's like really heartbreaking and like sort of look at like relationships and like the complicatedness of relationships, like when people don't know what they want, and like it's like an amazing look of like I don't know, like 80s San Francisco queer scene, and it's just really beautiful. And I think just like witnessing Lou coming to realization that he can live his life as a gay trans man is like really really beautiful, and I'm like glad that this exists. It's really nicely published. It has like these black pages and then it's like Lou hair in the back, and he's just like yeah, it's just a really great book. I love it so much. And the next book is The Undying, A Meditation on Illness by Anne Boyer, which is also a non-fiction book. I read all of Anne Boyer's psychology writing, and I also read Violence Against Women by her this year, so I also gave 5 stars, but I'm only going to talk about this one here. And it's basically like Anne Boyer's like memoir of her experience like when she had cancer, but it's like an amazing look of like how we view like illness and just like capitalism and sickness and care. I'm just gonna read a bit here. Let's see. Yeah, The Undying is a devastating memoir of survival and philosophical celebration of the life, art, and literature that persist in the face of serious illness. It's a book about care and kindness because it's also about systematic cruelty and neglect. A book about what connects us because it's about what would isolate us. So like it's just like a great exploration of like illness, death, capitalism, art, and like revolutionary writing and revolutionary being. And I would definitely give it a read if you haven't already. This is my mom's copy of the book actually, but I brought it with me so I could include it in this video. But yeah, I would definitely like everything that Anne Boyer writes is like an automatic like 5 star. But I would definitely recommend this. It's like very intense, but definitely worth it. And then the next book, which I was certain was going to be like my favorite book of the year because it's one of my favorite books of all time, but there's another one on top or whatever. But that is Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon. I also read The Deep by Fair. That's also like a 5 star, like fucking amazing. But the one I'm going to talk about is Unkindness of Ghosts. I also saw on Twitter, by the way, that River Solomon goes by fair pronouns now, so that's the ones that I'm going to use, that everyone should, but I was thinking I would say so if in case you haven't seen fair Twitter. So this is like one of the best sci-fis like I've ever read, and I have read a lot of sci-fi. It follows Aster, who is like she lives in this like massive ship that's kind of like structured the same way as like the antebellum South, so she's like on the bottom of the system, like basically like in like abject like slavery, and like her trying to like uncover like her mother's past and also changing the structure of the ship. And she's a doctor, and it's just like an inspiration again of like community and just like gender and like it's like devastating and heartbreaking. It's like incredibly violent, but it is just like so beautiful. And like I love Aster, I love Theo, like I love the way like they talk about gender, and Aster's like neurotypical and like autistic, I'm intersex, and just like the way that's like explored is just like both so tender and harsh and like beautiful, and I just love this so much. But like again, it's like a lot of violence and like specific like anti-black violence and like sexual violence, and again it's like devastating, but it's such like a beautiful read. I get really like moved, and I just like love like all these like fraught but like intense relationships between like Aster and like her best friend like Giselle, and like Aster and Theo, and just like the way it deals with like healing hi baby and self-destruction. And yeah, if you love sci-fi and hate the gender binary and want to fuck shit up, I would definitely recommend this. It's also one of the most beautiful covers like I've ever seen in my whole life, and this made me like emotional, so I'm gonna like head on to the next book, which is my favorite book of the year. And like if it wasn't for the fact that like I have very loudly proclaimed for years like the autobiography of Red Band Carson's my favorite book of all time, I think this might be my favorite book of all time, like at least like as much as a book for Red, which is like fucking wild because I shaped so much like my identity around like loving that book. But I also love this book, very high praise, which is Lote by Shola von Reinhold, and it's part of the 2020 and 2020 project by Jacob Randers, the UK publisher, where they would publish 20 Black British writers like in 1 year, that year being 2020. And this is just, again, I talk about this quite a lot like on the channel, but this is just amazing. It follows like Matilda, who is this like young woman who's like really obsessed with like the bright young things and like modernity, and she like keeps like reinventing herself through their like extravagance, but in like a really amazing like anti-work, anti-state way. And it's about like uncovering like a history of like black modernity and like black queerness. And yeah, I guess I should like say what it's like about. I really haven't done that for any of these because like I just wanted to like do a quick video where I like provide some hype. But she discovers this like figure, Herma Druitt, who's like a black modernist poet, and she ran these like circles that like Matilda are obsessed with. So she like enters like art program, like art and residency in the town that Hermina is from. And it's just like, if you've ever been in any like art residency or like extended like, I don't know, like if you ever like worked in a gallery or been around or like done like an art residency or like an art performance thing, like the commitment for the other like participants to like theory and like the way that like they live this like intense ideological like minimalism in contrast to like the black queer like beautiful anti-capitalist like decadence and like almost like luxury communism of like Matilda and Hermia. You'd really enjoy this. It says at the end, from champagne theft and black modernism to art sabotage, alchemy, and lotus eating proto-luxury communist cults, Matilda's journey through modes of aesthetic expression guides her to truth and the convoluted ways it is made and obscured. So like, if you're interested in like archives, queerness, black modernity, pansies, anti-capitalism, gender, angels, weird history, you would really enjoy this. Like, it is like so good. I feel like I definitely like overhype this, but like I don't overhype it, but like I talk it up a lot, so maybe like you won't love it as much as me, but like it is amazing and it's definitely worth a read. It's a beautiful cover. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see if I can lift these books. Give me a second. So these are the best books that I have read in this year, or like last year, because it's 2021 now. But these are my favorite books of 2020. Let me know if you read any of these. If you want to read them, I'm being crushed. If you want to read them, what your favorite book of 2020 is. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're okay, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.